Hello guys, welcome to the third episode in the Unity Beginner tutorial series. We will be making a very simple 3D platformer game that we will have finished by the end of this series. And in this episode, we will work on the level design to teach you about the fundamentals that go into the making of any game with Unity. To begin with, head over to the hierarchy, right click, 3D object, and create a cube. This cube will serve as a starting platform, so let's rename it to Start. Hit F4 on the scene view to focus on it, and let's go right ahead and change the scale of this cube as saw in the last episode. So we'll change it 10 on the X. Actually, before changing the scale of it, we will actually reset its transform just so that we can have it in the center of our world. So let's scale it 10 on the X and 10 on the Z. We need to get perspective from our camera to see how our game is looking, and therefore you can drag the game view right onto the screen next to the scene view so that we can get perspective on both views simultaneously. Let's now adjust the position of this main camera to face where we want our player to be. So let's take it back a little bit and change its Y position, and that should be good enough. Let's now create another cube which will represent our player and name it to player. Hit F to zoom onto it and let's position it right on top of the platform. So I'm gonna first of all reset the transform. And you can also hold down the control key and drag the game object on whatever axis you want to snap its position. And this pretty much simplifies the process. The scene now looks pretty bland, so let's add a little color to it. To do that, we need to create a new material. So head over to the project window, right click on the assets folder, and create a new folder and name it materials. Double click on it to go into the materials folder, right click again, create, and create a new material. And rename this to wherever you want. I'm personally going to name it Start Platform, since this will be the material of the starting platform. Click to open this material and you will be greeted with a bunch of properties. All we simply need is for now to change the color. So click on the albedo and let's color it blue. If we drag this material onto the game object we want to add it to from the scene view, we will notice that the color will change. Any modifications made to the material in real time will be updated. We'll now make a material for the player, and this time pause the video and try to do it in your own. So to go to our materials folder, right click, create, material, and let's name it player. Let's now color him green and drag this material onto our player. If we now try to play the game, you will see that nothing really happens, and this is because we're still yet to add logic through code, and that will be the purpose of the next video. It is also worthy to keep in mind that any changes made in play mode will undo themselves after you exit play mode. In our game, we will want our player to be able to jump onto different platforms. And if we try elevating this player and hit play, you will see that gravity doesn't affect the player, and that is not a good sign. We now need to add physics to that player, and this is actually a lot simpler than it seems. So let's exit out of play mode, click on our player, go to the inspector, hit add components, and search for rigid body. Also make sure it's a rigid body and a rigid body 2D, since this is a 3D object. If we now hit play, our player will be affected by gravity. Pretty cool, isn't it? And such is the power of components. They allow special behaviors for different game objects. For instance, what do you think is keeping our player from falling through the world? You're right if you said it's a platform below him, but what really is keeping our player from falling through is his box collider component on both game objects. And colliders allow you to pretty much collide with other game objects, and you can use them to detect collision as well. We can edit some properties of the colliders, such as the center or the size. For now we'll just keep it at its default. Something to keep in mind is that both game objects must have colliders in order to collide. If one of them lacks a collider, the other will pass through it even if it has a rigid body. So for example, if we keep this collider on the player and we disable that collider on the platform, the player will simply fall through. With that said, we will now create some platforms which will soon move on their own. I challenge you to pause the video and place a couple of platforms in front of the starting platform on your own. A quick and easy way to do this is to click on our starting platform, hit Ctrl D to duplicate it, and you simply change the position of it. So let's do this again, and boom, we've got 3 different platforms now. With that done, we have now laid the foundation of our game and are ready to dive right into scripting to give this game some logic. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you were able to learn something valuable. With that said, make sure to subscribe and turn on bell notifications if you want to be notified when we release another video. And please leave a thumbs up. See you in the next episode.